Greetings all, this is my top 5 list of 5 tanks that I like the most in War Thunder. Now, this isn't a list of what are the best tanks in War Thunder, it's just my personal opinion, based on looks, how they play, or just anything in general. Also, as a side note, the vehicles aren't in any particular order, so the vehicle in the 10th place isn't any better or worse than the vehicle in the first place, it's just that's the order I decided to put them in. Anyway, let's get into this, shall we? Taking the 10th place is the Panzer Freeze M. This is a 3.0 German tank, a German medium tank, and it is brilliant. The armour, although on the surface is not very good, it is quite reliable. Not completely reliable, but quite reliable. The initial armour on the Panzer Freeze M is 50mm, both on the turret and the hull. But with the 20mm of added armour, it is very good at bouncing shots. Throughout the time I've been playing the tank to get footage for the video, it has bounced quite a few shots from the likes of T35s. I know that's a reserve tier tank, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I've bounced shots from 2 pound. A lot of the small low caliber guns struggle with this, like the 2 pounder and the guns on the BT5 and so on. It is a very good tank. The gun on the Panzer Freeze, the 50mm KWK-39, is an absolute gem of a gun. Although the penetration leaves a lot to be desired compared with other guns at the BR, it is quite a good little gun. It does the job that you'll need it to do. It does struggle in up tiers a bit with the Shermans and the KV2s and KV1s, but apart from that, it is an absolutely cracking gun on an absolutely cracking tank. I do recommend the Panzer Freeze M, which is why it gets a spot on my top 10 list. At number 9 we have the Panzer Freeze rival, the Char B1 Bis. The B1 Bis is a 2.3 heavy tank in the French tech tree, and it is stupidly good. It is immensely powerful with its massively thick armour. With 60mm of frontal armour, the B1 Bis is almost impenetrable from the front, even without angling. And if you angle properly, then there's barely anything that can get through you. Unless you're in an up tier and Panzer IV F2s come along, but then that's a different story entirely. In a full down tier, this thing absolutely dominates. Both of the guns on it leave a lot to be desired, with the 47mm penning about 62mm of armour and the 75mm in the hull penning 64mm. It's a bit naff, but when you've got oodles and oodles of armour like this, who cares? You have enough time to aim. What are they going to shoot you? They can't do that. You're a B1 Bis. People around the tanking community say that the French tanks, especially the B1 Bis, were better than some of the German tanks like the early Panzer IVs and Freeze. This technically was true, and you may be thinking to yourself, well, if that's the case, how did France fall? The answer to that is in their doctrine, you see. The way that the Germans played Blitzkrieg and the way they moved their tanks around, they made sure that it was always multiple German tanks against one B1 Bis or one French tank, which means that it would be easily outnumbered. There are stories of French tanks taking on multiple German tanks at once, but these were rare, and 9 times out of 10 the result would be the Germans winning. But in War Thunder, we have no such problems, and thanks to that we have the lovely B1 Bis, dominating the battlefield and taking the number 9 spot on my list. Stealing the number 8 spot on this list is the Beast from the East, the massive T35 Soviet Heavy tank. This is a 1.3 heavy tank in the Soviet tech tree. It is a premium, but bloody hell is it a good one. With 5 turrets and 10 crewmates, you are unstoppable. You are a small tank's worst nightmare. Although the armour, despite being a heavy tank, isn't that good at 30mm maximum at the front, the T35 is extremely survivable with 10 crew members, and seems as most guns in this BR have no HE filler in them. This makes it a perfect tank, as most of the time the poor little light tank or whatever's trying to shoot you will be shooting frantically trying to knock out every single one of your crew members, whilst you're there laughing in Russian, being able to shoot him back with one of the 3 guns you have. Firepower on the T35 is both good and bad. In the main turret in the middle there's a 76mm gun that has a very weak round, but also there's the 47mm guns in the smaller turrets, a similar one to what you'd find on the BT5, which is very good. If you work these 2 guns together, or these 3 guns, should I say, it can work very well. Especially if you fire them in a volley style, as it will save time on reload, as you won't have to fire once and then wait for it to reload. You can just fire bang, bang, bang. And whilst you're doing that, the other poor sod you're shooting at is just waiting there trying to reload as you pepper him with rounds and inevitably kill him in the mighty T35. At number 7 we have the biggest of the thickest. This is the T28. The T28 is a 6.3 American heavy tank destroyer at 6.3, and it is plastered with the stuff. This thing has a frontal plate of about 305mm. That is colossal, considering nothing apart from a few things with Heat FS can go through it at the round. The long 88, that's got absolutely no chance of getting at you through the front. But you get around to the side, that's when things get a little difficult. This does have around 50mm of side armor, which is not a lot. Things like the Whirlwind can easily get through, so you know. This thing, I love this thing because it's just in the right situation, that is down an alleyway or at long ranges. This thing absolutely dominates. Nothing can kill you. It has very small weak spots like the cupolas, and if they can't hit that, which they probably can't at long range, then that's just doomsday for them. But that is brilliant for you, considering the absolute massiveness of this gun on this tank. The gun on the T28, the 105mm T5E1 cannon, is an absolute belter. It can pen 253mm of armor, and that is colossal. That can kill almost anything frontally at the tier, like Panthers right through, Tigers, nothing. King Tigers you will have to aim, but when aiming for the weak spots I've never ever found a issue with it. I've always gone through right back to the back of the turret, right into the right into the ammo. The gun on it, as well as everything else on the tank, is absolutely perfect. It does the job down to a T. It is brilliant in every sense of the word. My one gripe about the T28 is the speed, or lack thereof. It says on the stat card that it can get up to 8 miles an hour, but I've never got up to that speed. I've only got it up to a blistering 7 miles per hour. And I believe this is something to do with the engine and the horsepower and the tonnage of this thing. Now you see, this tank weighs 59 tons and has an engine of 500 horsepower, which, considering the Tiger H1, which weighs a similar 57 tons, has a 650 horsepower, and that's able to get up to 28 miles an hour. It just, you know, it doesn't really add up. Why would they give it such a small engine for such a heavy beast? I don't know. Anyway, it's still a very fun tank. I do suggest you get it. It is quite expensive on the Gaijin store. Not on the Gaijin store, sorry. It is quite expensive. In Golden Eagles it is a premium, but I still highly recommend it for anyone who wants to try it out. It's very good. It's what you want in a heavy tank. Last, but certainly not least, at number 1, this is, of course, the Hetzer. The world's best tank destroyer, in my opinion. Forget the Jag Tiger, forget your Su-85, forget everything. The Hetzer is truly the best. The armour on it is impenetrable. Well, frontally. Well, if they only hit the top bar, it's a Hetzer. It's the Skoda lunchbox. I mean, it's iconic. It's an iconic bit of German/Czech engineering. I mean, yes, if something gets around to your side, it's a bit... That's where things get difficult. But it's a Hetzer. The gun on it is essentially the same gun as what you get on Panzer IV. So that's 10 out of 10, you know. That's going to kill everything. The armour, frontally, again, gonna, you know, unless you've got 17-pounder, then things get difficult. But Hetzer, plus it's got its roof-mounted MG42, which is just brilliant. It's the Hetzer. I mean, Hetzers really are gonna Hetz, which is why it makes #1 on my list. Just to prove how absolutely giga-chad the Hetzer is. Being a casemate, you think, oh, it'd get outflanked and killed easily, but no. Check out this footage of me having a tussle with a KV-1 in the Hetzer and see, it is an absolute little unit, little unit just brawling with this heavy tank like it's nothing. There are a bit of hair-raising moments in it, but all in all, the Hetzer had complete control of the situation there, and there was I had never had any doubt in it. Check this out.
Oh, poop.
Greetings all, just here to tell you that it's the end of the video. If you did enjoy, I'm very glad. If you don't, well, then that's okay too. Please let me know in the description what your top 5 favourite tanks are in War Thunder. I would be most interested to find out. And also, if you want, let me know what you want me to play. If you want a tank or a plane or a boat of some variety you want me to play, let me know and I'll get on it. And until next time, it is goodbye from me, so goodbye.